Hey everybody, another moment of real life experiences lived consciously. So today I'm going to talk about the paradigm of power over. Today in the news here in the US, there's a congressional hearing going on that impacts information about our president. I also read an article about a icon of classical music conducting who's another one of the fallen. And with that and the Me Too movement, politics, the way all these things always play out, they are paradigms of power over another, which creates abuses of power. It creates the victim perpetrator paradigm. And we all know this one, right? And it's an interesting thing because there's such a time of empowerment in consciousness going on right now. And if you're listening to this, you're part of that. And in the empowerment of consciousness, we are recognizing that we are sovereign creators in our life and that we co-create reality with the collective, but that we have tremendous choices in that. So today, what I wanted to speak to a little bit is the way that when you get excited about or even invested in an issue of someone's disempowerment or somebody's abuse of power, it's a tremendous distraction from actually noticing what that's pointing to in us, which is an invitation to notice, where are we giving our power away? Where are we subscribing completely unconsciously to the paradigm of power over? So it can be so simple, the ways that we are subscribing to the power over and abuse of power and handing away of power paradigm. It could be as simple as something as, the weather is messing up my life and I have no control over it. It's anything where you feel that you don't have a measure of control. When you feel something else has control over me, whether it's the government or somebody else's opinion or the weather, we're handing our power to that thing. So the interesting thing about the issues that come up around empowerment and disempowerment is that while they are there because their time for transformation has come, it's time for say gender inequality to end, or for people of different sexual orientations not to be oppressed, or for those with money not to be using that power abusively over those who don't. Absolutely, all those things are up to be transformed. They also hold the potential to be a tremendous distraction from your own issues and your own awareness of empowerment and disempowerment. Because if you are handing your energy to that topic in a way that you opinionate, or you feel victimized, or you get up in arms, or all of those things, that is an energy that feeds that paradigm and actually doesn't serve to resolve it. So there's this beautiful dance between making empowered choices in any of the issues, whether they're personal to you or they're social or they're collective, to making empowered choices and to feeling disempowered by hearing the information. Does that make sense? Like, you hear about something and you feel frustrated and you feel like, why is this so screwed up? And this is what's wrong with the world. Those are all feelings of disempowerment, which are in turn going to actually feed that paradigm. So it's fascinating to me to look at how this is up in consciousness in our world and in ourselves. I've spent a lot of time in my own journey of consciousness looking at ways that I've handed power away to other people. Very subtle and simple things, profound things, big things, and making choices to say, I am in charge of this, my life. Okay, so I'm going to give you a personal example right now, because personal examples are super helpful. And I did ask my partner if I could share this one. And it's really interesting because it was a way that I was handing power away, didn't know it, at some point decided I'm not going to do this anymore. And it led to a whole opening around choices, awareness. It was just so beautiful. So, as you know, I'm a consciousness teacher. I do a lot of energy work. I do work with vibrational therapy through sound, vibrational transformation, opening of consciousness with sound. I do live streams. I work with clients. Sometimes I'll have big events coming up. And so just within this last week, I had a day where there were 2 sound events on one day. One was virtual worldwide on YouTube, and the other was an in-person sound event. I feel a lot of energy when I'm doing events with people. I'm aware, I start tuning into their field. That's the information that I'm gathering and gleaning in order to serve them the best and to be the most present and aware for the work that I'm doing. Okay, so the pattern that I had noticed, and here's where I handed my power away and I felt victimized. And I knew that I wasn't a victim. So this is really fun to unpack. Okay, so I noticed this pattern that whenever I have a big event coming, whether it's leading a retreat or maybe doing a big live stream where a lot of people are tuning in, or say doing these sound events, my partner, all of his shit would just come crashing at me the night before. It was like, why are you always just like, all your stuff's coming at me right when I have the big thing? And what my experience then would be, my vibration would basically just drop. I'd go down and I'd have to be pulling myself back up out of this sort of vibrational basement to do the work that I was going to do. And I would feel angry about that. Like, why do you have to bring your stuff at me? Fine, we can have a conversation, but why does it have to be right when I'm doing big pieces of my work? So that happened. I sort of worked my way through it in my own space, then went a day later to have the conversation. And here's how I approached the conversation to begin with. And I did this, I first had to say it. I had to sort of get reconciled to it within before I could speak it. And then I said, I'm creating a really interesting thing that I don't like, and I'm not going to create it anymore. That's where I began. I began with a statement of empowerment about myself. I am creating my experience of what's going on here, and I'm going to own that 100%, and I'm going to be accountable. And so I went on to say, I've created something where every time I have a big event coming, this is what you're doing. Interesting, right? Because it involves another person. And so we talked about that, which was fascinating. And he explained to me, he said, you're completely different before you do big events. I said, what do you mean? I had no awareness of this. And he explained several things. It's a little bit of a complicated pattern, but basically what was in my field, what I'm fielding, which was fine for me, not affecting me negatively, was bringing up a whole bunch of challenges for him that almost felt like the energies I was fielding almost felt like an attack for him. So he was responding defensively with just things that I would say in normal conversation. And that's why I think, why are you always lighting up about this stuff the day before? He was able to explain to me what's happening energetically as I prepare myself to field a lot of energy and how it impacts him. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. So I'm looking at that. So I approached it first from the statement of empowerment. I'm creating this. And of course he's responding. That's his creation. And then I was also able to say, and I'm super pissed at you because I just feel victimized by the fact that you do this. And I'm still angry at you for always bringing your shit at me when it's time for me to have a big event. And then we got to be with that. And it was so light and so easy because that was actually secondary. That was secondary to my statement of empowerment, which is I'm a creator and I'm creating this and I'm going to choose something else. So beautiful. Out of that came this massive amount of awareness for both of us and a whole new plan, which was like, well, first of all, if we're not fielding this in a different way, I'm going to spend the day before a big thing apart from you. And he had already decided the same thing. Or is there a way that the two of us can actually be with these energies and create something different from them? And that's another option that we haven't yet explored because it's new for us. Okay, so these were both empowered choices. And they came out of a choice to no longer engage in the power over paradigm. I could have said, look, you're doing this to me. That is handing my power to somebody else. Instead, I chose to say, I am creating this and I'm going to choose not to create it anymore. And I'm going to tell you about what's going on. And also, very importantly, honored the human part that says, and I actually just totally feel victimized by this. I feel like it's crappy that you're like this to me and I don't like it. But the thing was, the order of it is super important, right? Like, let's just say the hierarchy of awareness is what's really going on there. The hierarchy of awareness is I'm creating this. I'm 100% accountable and responsible for my life. That is a statement of empowerment. Yeah, and it actually led to a creation of a new thing. So what I would invite you to, if you are noticing the paradigm of power over, of abuse, of structures where people are victimized perpetrators, handing power away, all of that stuff, take notice of the subtle ways. Do you allow somebody else to be responsible for your mood? Do you, Do you feel that there are things beyond your control that impact your life in such and such a way and you can't do anything about it? Those are all engagements with a paradigm of disempowerment. And the simple, I mean, honestly, if you're listening to this, you are either already, you're just coming into awareness about it, you're transitioning through and out of it, or you're practicing it and it still hasn't landed all the way. It's probably one of those things. But all of that, it means you are ready to step into a new relationship of empowerment with yourself. And that's the good news. All this stuff coming up and showing itself to you, even through the frustrations. I mean, as a friend of mine says, never waste a good trigger. It's where all the information is. It's showing itself to you because you're ready and because you are called now to be with this in a different way. That's the good part of it. Like, what's going on already is your empowerment and your choice to live your real life experiences consciously, in conscious creation, in conscious choice. That's where the power is. The other thing is about world events, about collective events. And I'm going to say this again because I feel it's really true and I feel strongly about it, which is that they are a tremendous distraction from actually addressing your own core system and either in subscription to a system of empowerment or disempowerment. That's where the pointer is. And if it's pointing to that in you, then yes, that means it's only here because you're ready, you're up for it now, and you have the facility and the awareness and the tools to be with it in a new way. That's why it's here. So congratulations. And if you're all done with it, congratulations. Step up. You're probably already a leader for others in this, right? It's amazing. So thanks for tuning in. Really happy to share all this with you. It actually went in a direction I completely had no idea it was going, so that was fun to watch that happen. Thanks for creating that with me. And until the next time.